Stop and listen to me with both ears, for this is not merely about your future. It is about your children's. The eyes of tomorrow are watching you today. The habits you form, the decisions you make, the strength you show, or the weakness you tolerate, these will not die with you. They will live on in the lives of your sons and daughters. Picture them now. Picture your boy or your girl standing at the threshold of life, looking to you for the pattern, for the proof of what is possible. What do they see? Do they see a father or mother who lives with purpose, who fights with persistence, who acts with faith? Or do they see hesitation, excuses, and drift? Know this: they will imitate you. They will borrow your courage, or they will inherit your fear. They will echo your faith, or they will echo your doubt. Think of the power you hold. If you master yourself, if you obey the laws of success, your children will inherit more than money. They will inherit a spirit of definiteness, of courage, of vision. They will walk taller because you walked tall first. They will conquer where others fall because you taught them by example that failure is not final. Even when you leave this earth, your influence will march beside them, protecting them as surely as a shield. That is the legacy of a parent who obeys law. Now picture the opposite. Picture them years from now, uncertain, bitter, beaten before they begin because you never taught them to believe. Picture them struggling with debt, small ambitions, and broken homes because you passed down the poison of indecision, the weakness of drift, the cowardice of excuses. They will blame the world, but in their secret heart they will remember your example, and it will haunt them. What you do not conquer in yourself, you curse them to carry. This is why you must listen now as if their future depends on it, because it does. Every law of success you neglect will cost them. Every law you master will bless them. To miss even one is to leave a crack in the foundation of their lives. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered nations but failed in tolerance, and his empire collapsed. Do you want your children to inherit an empire that cannot stand? Or do you want them to inherit strength that endures through generations? Ask yourself, what will your son say of you? What will your daughter remember of you? Will they look back and say, "My father was defeated, so I must be defeated too"? Or will they say, "My mother stood tall, and because she believed, I will believe also"? This is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of law. If you live with definiteness, if you act with faith, if you persist, if you build yourself according to the 16 laws of success, you will pass down not only money, but a legacy of power, purpose, and honor. But if you drift, if you excuse, if you surrender, you will condemn your children to repeat your defeat. So hear me, this is your brutal wake-up call. Rise for yourself, but more importantly, rise for them. For your children's future depends on you, and every day you delay, the debt you leave them grows heavier. Part 1, the law of inheritance. You cannot escape the legacy you are building. Every man is building an inheritance at this very hour, an inheritance not of money or possessions, but of thought, habit, and example. Whether he wills it or not, he is shaping the unseen foundation upon which his children will build their lives. Every word spoken in anger, every act born of discipline, every choice between faith and fear is a chisel stroke upon the monument of his lineage. The law is simple and inescapable. You cannot give what you do not possess. If your mind is filled with fear, you will pass fear. If your mind is ordered, your children will inherit order. If you have mastered your appetites, they will inherit strength. If you have surrendered to drift, they will inherit weakness disguised as temperament. The blood may carry your features, but the mind will carry your habits. I have seen the same law at work in empires and in homes. Nations rise by the discipline of one generation and fall by the negligence of the next. The same pattern governs families. What you conquer within yourself becomes the fortress your children inhabit. What you neglect becomes the crack through which their peace escapes. There is no neutral influence. Every thought you think travels forward through time, shaping lives you will never meet. Picture two homes. In the first, the father rises each morning with purpose. His face is calm, his words deliberate. When trial comes, he meets it as a man who expects victory, not excuses. His children, though they do not understand his philosophy, absorb his composure as easily as they breathe. They grow certain that life obeys discipline, that obstacles yield to persistence. Years later, they will face the storms of their own lives with the same quiet strength. Now picture the second home. The father wakes grudgingly, complains of circumstance, speaks of failure as though it were his inheritance. He ridicules those who dream, scorns those who succeed, and blames fortune for his poverty. His children learn early to distrust hope. They imitate his tone, they adopt his outlook, and they grow to believe that life is something to be endured, not mastered. Thus, the sins of indecision pass down through generations as surely as the sins of vice. Andrew Carnegie's father gave him little wealth but much belief. The elder Carnegie taught him that poverty was temporary, that effort and faith could rewrite destiny. That belief did not die with Andrew. It multiplied through every library he built, every man he inspired to study, every worker he lifted through opportunity. That is inheritance rightly used, belief becoming structure, structure becoming civilization. Contrast this with the countless men who left behind only bitterness, quarrels, or debts. Their children began life already burdened by defeat, learning not how to climb, but how to complain. The inheritance of weakness is more expensive than the inheritance of debt, for a creditor may be paid, but a broken spirit costs generations. The subconscious mind of a child is like fertile soil. It accepts whatever seed is sown within it, whether of fear or faith, order or confusion. It does not question, it imitates. Long before the child can reason, he feels. He senses the tone of your voice, the rhythm of your moods, the energy that fills your home. These become the unspoken language of his future. A household ruled by complaint trains a mind to expect injustice. A household ruled by faith trains a mind to expect opportunity. Imagine a boy awakened at night by the sound of his parents arguing over money. He learns, without being told, that money is cause for fear. He grows cautious, distrustful of enterprise, skeptical of ambition. When chance for fortune appears, he shrinks back. His father's argument echoes louder than any teacher's counsel. Now imagine another child, hearing his parents speak calmly of plans, working together toward a goal. He learns that life can be organized, that money is servant, not master. That knowledge becomes his fortune long before he earns a dollar. Do not mistake this for superstition. It is law. Every thought carries vibration. Every emotion radiates influence. And the atmosphere of a home is the sum of its dominant thoughts. You can feel it when you enter. Some homes breathe peace, others confusion. It is not furniture or decoration that creates the difference. It is mind. The home is the laboratory where the chemistry of character is brewed. I have walked into homes where wealth was absent, but greatness present. The father's voice was steady, the mother's eyes clear with faith, and the children, though dressed plainly, glowed with confidence. They were rich in the only currency that endures, the habit of right thought. I have also entered homes of luxury where bitterness hung like smoke. Fear had built the mansion, and fear would one day destroy it. Every day you live, you are writing an invisible book, your children's textbook of life. They will read your reactions more closely than your instructions. They will study how you rise after defeat, how you speak of others, how you greet adversity. They will take from your life their definition of manhood, womanhood, work, love, and faith. If you have learned to see life as opportunity, they will inherit hope. If you have learned to see life as punishment, they will inherit despair. Understand this, you cannot hide your mental state. The mask of composure may fool the stranger, but not the child. He feels when your smile is painted. He knows when fear is behind your laughter. The mind of youth is tuned to truth. It perceives vibrations more clearly than the words that deny them. Thus, example is inescapable. A wise parent governs his home as a statesman governs a nation, with self-command, foresight, and moral law. He does not speak idly, for he knows every word is seed. He does not react hastily, for he knows every gesture becomes pattern. He disciplines his own tongue before he disciplines his child's hand. There are fathers who believe they can correct their children's faults through punishment, not realizing that they themselves have planted those faults by daily display. A father who punishes his son for impatience while living impatiently is a sculptor chiseling water. Only example hardens virtue into habit. Repeat this affirmation until it becomes the fiber of your being. I am the foundation of strength in my home. My calm creates confidence in those who depend on me. My faith becomes my children's inheritance. Let these words remind you that every hour of self-mastery compounds interest in your children's future. Look upon your daily life as a bank account of influence. Each act of faith is a deposit, each act of fear a withdrawal. At the end of your days, your balance will not be measured in coins, but in the character of those who come after you. If you spend your years in drift, your children will begin their own with deficit. But if you live with definiteness, your children will inherit wealth beyond calculation, certainty, courage, and faith. This inheritance cannot be written in wills or guarded by law. It must be lived. The father who leaves gold but no discipline leaves temptation. The father who leaves discipline but no gold leaves opportunity. Which is the greater gift? The answer is written in every story of squandered fortune and every rise from poverty to greatness. The greatest fortune any parent can bequeath is moral wealth. The knowledge that success obeys law, that fear is illusion, that persistence conquers. A single generation of faith can transform an entire bloodline. Look at history. Families who lifted themselves from obscurity to distinction all began with one mind that refused to drift. Therefore, make your home a place where right thinking is as natural as breathing. Let your children hear not complaints but plans, not gossip but gratitude, not argument but faith. Train them not by command but by atmosphere. Let them see that in your world, discipline is joy, effort is privilege, and faith is fact. If you live this truth, your children will not have to search for examples in books. They will have one walking before them. They will not waste years unlearning your errors. They will begin life already armed. This is how you save 10 or 20 years of their struggle, by removing from their path the obstacles your own mind once built. Close your eyes now and see your children as they will be when you are gone. Their speech, their habits, their confidence will be echoes of your present self. Ask yourself, what inheritance am I building in them this hour? Whatever answer comes, know this: it can be changed today. Each sunrise gives you a new chance to build differently, to replace irritation with patience, worry with purpose, complaint with gratitude. Every small victory of thought becomes a blessing written into your family's future. You need not build an empire of steel or stone. Build one of mind and faith, and it will outlast both. For the home is the workshop of destiny, and you are its master craftsman. The legacy you build in silence today will march on when your voice is gone, shaping men and women yet unborn. Therefore think greatly, speak calmly, act decisively. For what you are, they will become, and through them you will live forever. Part 2. The mirror of example. Children become what you are, not what you say. There is a law in nature older than speech and stronger than command. Children do not listen, they imitate. The subconscious mind of youth is an open page, and upon it the parent's actions write indelible law. Words fade, sermons are forgotten, but the example of a parent ingrains itself upon the soul as surely as water shapes stone. A father may speak of honesty while cheating in small things, thinking his cleverness unseen. Yet the child observes, not with intellect but with instinct, and absorbs the lesson, that truth is negotiable, that conscience may be bent for gain. The child grows, repeats the same behavior, and the father wonders why correction fails. It fails because words cannot erase example. A mother may tell her daughter to walk with dignity and faith, yet if that mother speaks fear each morning and complaint each night, the daughter learns anxiety, not grace. She may obey the command for a season, but soon she will copy the pattern she has absorbed more deeply than instruction. You cannot build a temple of faith upon a foundation of fear. The home is a mirror. Every thought, every emotion, every habit of the parent is reflected in the character of the child. When a man looks upon his son's temper, his laziness, or his timidity, he looks upon the echo of his own mind. The same law that governs inheritance of blood governs inheritance of belief. You do not teach what you wish. You reproduce what you are. Abraham Lincoln's mother left him no estate, no wealth, not even the guidance of long years. Yet in her short life, she gave him something rarer than gold, the example of faith and honesty. Her calm fortitude became his shield. When his enemies mocked him, when war divided the nation, he stood with her spirit behind him. That is the power of right example, the immortality of influence. Now look at the opposite. Napoleon Bonaparte conquered nations, yet he could not conquer himself. His pride became his prison. His arrogance, admired at first, turned to tyranny, and his empire crumbled into dust. He left no noble example, only ambition without restraint. His name endures, but not his peace. He proved that victory without virtue breeds ruin, not legacy. Every home, whether palace or hut, carries within it these two seeds, the seed of Lincoln or the seed of Napoleon. One grows into strength, the other into destruction. The choice lies not in the child's temperament, but in the parent's example. A father once said to me, "I want my boy to believe he can accomplish anything." I asked, "Do you believe it of yourself?" He hesitated. His silence was the answer. The boy had already learned limitation from his father's eyes. It is not what you declare that shapes your child. It is what you believe when no one is watching. When a child sees his parent face adversity with calm, he learns courage before he ever defines it. When he sees faith applied under pressure, he learns that belief is not theory, but power. But when he sees panic, bitterness, or complaint, he learns that words are masks and that fear is stronger than faith. Thus, the hypocrite trains defeat even as he speaks of victory. Consider this truth. The subconscious mind of the child does not reason. It accepts example as command. You may say, "Do as I say, not as I do," but nature will laugh at your defiance. For her law is absolute. Behavior outweighs instruction. The child sees your real religion in your reactions. The God you serve is the habit you obey. A mother once said to her son, "Never lie." Yet each time the doorbell rang, she told him, "Say I am not home." Years later, when that boy deceived her, she called him ungrateful. He was not ungrateful. He was obedient to her example. The seed she planted had borne fruit. Let this thought strike deeply. Every act of yours is a lesson. Every complaint, every praise, every careless word becomes scripture in the mind of your child. If you would raise him to nobility, you must walk nobly. If you would teach him strength, you must conquer your weakness. If you would make him faithful, you must live by faith. Abraham Lincoln once said, "All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." She had no riches to leave him, only a memory of virtue. That memory became the compass by which he steered a divided nation. You too will one day leave behind a memory, and it will guide or mislead generations. Think of Andrew Carnegie's example. His life was an unbroken sermon on definiteness of purpose. He demanded much of himself and inspired the same in others. The men under him learned to think like him, to see opportunity instead of obstacle. His discipline created disciplined men who went forth and multiplied his success long after his death. This is the hidden immortality of influence. Now picture another man, A father who drinks away his wages, curses his work, and excuses his failure by blaming others. His son grows bitter, lazy, resentful of effort. He becomes what he saw. That father, though dead, continues to destroy his son's life through example. The grave buries the body, but not the influence. Do you now see the weight of your days? Every hour you live is a lesson written in your children's minds. The manner in which you greet the morning, the way you handle adversity, the words you speak of others, these are their inheritance. You may not remember them, but they will. Therefore, conduct your life as though every act were being engraved upon the soul of your child, because it is. When anger tempts you, remember that you are teaching him to lose control. When you gossip, remember you are teaching him to distrust. When you lie, you are training him to believe that truth is negotiable. And when you rise before dawn to labor toward a definite aim, you are teaching him the dignity of work. When you keep faith under trial, you are teaching him that belief is stronger than circumstance. When you forgive where others would hate, you are teaching him greatness of spirit. Each act writes destiny. Let me give you an exercise that will change your household. Each evening, when the day is ended, sit alone for 5 minutes and ask yourself, if my children copied every word I spoke today, every tone I used, every reaction I gave, what kind of men and women would they become? This question will strip away vanity and reveal truth. If you are dissatisfied with the answer, begin tomorrow differently. Life gives fresh parchment each dawn. Write a better example upon it. Even if you have failed before, even if your children have already learned your errors, redemption is not denied. Begin to live the new pattern, and they will soon follow. Children do not need perfect parents. They need consistent ones. They forgive errors when they see sincerity. They admire those who fall and rise more than those who never risk. Let them see that strength is not the absence of failure, but the refusal to remain fallen. Teach them, not by preaching, but by rising. Affirm these words each morning: I lead by action, not by excuse. I am the living example of courage and discipline. Those who follow me will rise higher than I have risen. Speak them aloud until you feel their weight. They will not only change your children, they will change you. Remember that influence is never neutral. You either inspire or you infect. You either strengthen or you weaken. The air of your home carries your mood, and the soul of your child breathes it. Therefore, fill that air with purpose, with optimism, with calm. Replace complaint with gratitude, doubt with determination, criticism with encouragement. You cannot deceive nature. If your mind is ruled by fear, your child will sense it before you speak. If your spirit burns with faith, he will draw courage from your presence without understanding why. This is the silent transmission of power, the transfer of vibration from parent to child. It is invisible, but it is law. When your children are grown, they will carry within them an unseen compass, your compass. If you have lived by drift, theirs will point nowhere. If you have lived by definiteness, theirs will lead them home. You are not merely shaping their youth, you are shaping the instrument by which they will navigate life itself. Never underestimate what one transformed parent can accomplish. A man or woman who reforms their own example reforms generations. One disciplined soul can reverse 100 years of weakness. You are that soul if you decide to be. Do not complain that your children will not listen. They are listening every hour with their eyes. They hear not what you say, but what you are. If you wish them to believe, believe. If you wish them to stand, stand. If you wish them to dream, dream openly. If you wish them to be kind, speak with gentleness. You are the gospel they will preach by living. Close your eyes now and imagine your son or daughter grown. They stand before the world, calm, capable, certain. In their voice you hear your own tone. In their bearing, your own confidence. In their integrity, your own redemption. That is the true reward of parenthood, to see in another the reflection of your best self magnified. This is the law of example, the mirror of destiny. You cannot escape it, nor should you wish to. For when lived rightly, it gives immortality. To live as an example of faith, courage, and discipline is to create echoes that will not fade. Through your children, your grandchildren, and beyond, your spirit will march on, unconquered. So live today as though eternity were watching, and it is. Live so that when your children think of honor, they think of you. When they face hardship, they recall your composure. When they question faith, they remember your certainty. Then, though you depart this earth, your life will remain a pillar in their souls. This is how a man saves not only his children's future, but his own soul from obscurity, by living as the pattern others may safely follow. And when your children walk with dignity, with peace, with courage, you will know the secret of immortality. You have written yourself into the future through example. Part 3, the law of self-mastery. He who rules himself rules his home. No man may lead others until he first commands himself. You cannot direct the thoughts, tempers, and habits of a household while you are a stranger to the governance of your own mind. The undisciplined father will never raise disciplined children. The mother who drifts from mood to mood cannot build a home of order. Dominion over others begins with dominion over self. In every generation, the same truth appears. The measure of a man's influence is equal to the measure of his self-control. The world crowns not those who shout loudest, but those whose spirits stand firm when storms arise. The child who sees his parent ruled by temper learns that anger, not reason, governs life. The child who sees composure under pressure learns that power flows from calmness, not chaos. The law of cosmic habit force decrees that repeated thoughts and actions become automatic, and that every habit once formed governs destiny. Your children will not inherit your wealth as surely as they will inherit your habits. They will imitate your patience or your haste, your thrift or your waste, your faith or your fear. You are writing their habits daily in invisible ink upon the tablets of their minds. Think of Rockefeller, whose fortune was less an accident of oil than a triumph of order. He trained his thoughts and his actions to obey principle. When markets crashed, he remained composed. When men panicked, he planned. His discipline of mind became the atmosphere of his family. His children absorbed serenity as naturally as they breathed. He left them not only riches, but the method by which riches endure. Now contrast that picture with the restless parent, driven by impulse and appetite, who spends what he has not earned, who lashes out, repents, and repeats. His home becomes a rehearsal hall for weakness. The children grow up unsteady, easily swayed, for they have seen authority crumble from within. Where the parent drifts, the family drifts. Where the parent masters self, the family gains anchor. Self-mastery is not the crushing of emotion, it is the harmonizing of it. The wise parent does not seek to be cold, but controlled. Love expressed with reason strengthens. Love without control spoils. Anger directed by principle corrects. Anger unleashed destroys. The man who commands himself uses every feeling as servant of purpose. The man who serves his passions becomes slave of circumstance. Children do not seek tyrants. They seek examples of steadiness. The parent who leads through calm strength needs no threats. His authority flows naturally from respect. The child obeys not from fear of punishment, but from reverence for order. He senses that his father's words and actions spring from mastery, not impulse. This invisible dignity teaches more than 100 rules. Observe a household ruled by uncontrolled emotion. Shouting one moment, silence the next. It is like a ship tossed by contrary winds. The children grow nervous, uncertain, afraid to speak truth lest it ignite explosion. Such homes breed the habit of deceit. Yet in a home where the parent controls tone, gesture, and temper, there is peace. The children breathe confidence. They learn that self-command is safety. I once knew a man who complained that his son was stubborn, disrespectful, and lazy. Yet each day I saw that father break his own promises, sneer at duty, and waste his time. He demanded obedience while living rebellion. The boy was merely the mirror of his master. Law cannot be mocked. You will harvest in your children precisely what you plant in yourself. Therefore, make it your first business each morning to govern your own mind before seeking to govern the affairs of the day. Rise early. Enter silence. Give orders to your thoughts. Say, "Today I shall control my tone, my manner, my schedule, and my energy." When you command the inner kingdom, the outer world obeys in kind. Every victory over self sends ripples through the walls of your home. Practice one act of self-discipline daily. Speak only after reflection. Finish every task you begin. Keep one promise each day without fail. Eat and rest moderately. These simple victories accumulate until discipline becomes instinct. The child who observes them learns law through sight, not lecture. You may never tell him to persevere, yet he will, because you have shown him how perseverance looks and feels. Self-mastery is the difference between authority and tyranny. Authority is quiet, tyranny is loud. The one who masters himself does not need to command often. His presence commands for him. The ungoverned must shout to be heard, but the disciplined are obeyed without raising their voice. When the storm rages, the steady voice is refuge. Remember that emotion is contagious. Anger breeds anger. Calm breeds peace. When a father storms in rage, he multiplies rebellion. When he restrains himself and speaks with firmness, he multiplies respect. Each outburst that is conquered becomes a victory not only for the parent, but for the entire lineage. Self-control practiced by one generation becomes natural to the next. Discipline extends beyond temper. It governs appetite, speech, and time. The man who wastes hours teaches his child that time has no value. The woman who indulges every fancy teaches her daughter to follow impulse over purpose. But the parent who orders his day, work, rest, recreation, teaches balance, and balance is the foundation of power. Let your home feel your steadiness as the earth feels gravity. You need not explain your philosophy. The rhythm of your conduct will teach it better. When you rise at the same hour, labor without complaint, speak with restraint, and meet trial with quiet courage, your children will breathe that atmosphere and never forget it. Self-mastery requires effort, but it pays in generations of stability. Say aloud each morning, "I rule myself, therefore I am fit to guide others." My self-command becomes my family's stability. These are not idle words. They are commands to the subconscious. The mind obeys repetition. Repeat them until they become identity. Speak them before sleep, and they will work through the night, rebuilding will and composure. Do not believe that children respect indulgence. They may enjoy the gifts of an undisciplined parent, but they do not admire him. They admire firmness joined with love, rules enforced with consistency, and temper governed by reason. In your steadiness they find safety. In your mastery they find model. The home built upon whim soon falls. The home built upon order stands firm through every storm. The disciplined parent is a silent lighthouse. He does not run through the tempest shouting directions. He simply shines, steady and dependable. Ships steer by his light, though he speaks not a word. So it is with the father or mother who lives by law. Their presence guides even the rebellious back to harbor when conscience awakens. If you falter, do not despair. Even the great must relearn control. Lincoln, whose patience outlasted war and ridicule, mastered himself through suffering. Each insult, each setback was his teacher. When others raged, he reflected. That calm, learned through pain, became his strength and the strength of a nation. Self-control is not born, it is built. Understand that discipline begins with a single decision and grows through habit. For 30 days, refuse to yield to impulse. Speak when calm, act when certain, finish what you start. This routine ingrains law into character. The home that sees you conquer temper once will begin to believe that peace is possible. The second conquest will prove it. The third will make it tradition. In your self-mastery lies the salvation of your family. A man who rules himself cannot be ruled by circumstance. His calm becomes fortress. His word becomes oath. His life becomes pattern. His children learn that true power is not in domination, but in dominion over self. They grow to emulate not your wealth, but your control, not your words, but your composure. Look now into the future. Imagine your son or daughter grown, facing the same trials that once tested you. If you have lived with discipline, they will hear your steady voice echoing in their minds. Be still. Think. Act with purpose. Your self-mastery will live on through their decisions, saving them from the chaos that ruins weaker souls. Thus you secure not only your peace, but theirs. You cannot foresee every danger that will meet your children, but you can give them armor. That armor is the example of a parent who rules himself. It is stronger than inheritance, safer than insurance, and more enduring than property. It guards them long after you are gone. Remember, a home ruled by discipline is a school of kings. Each child raised under law becomes a future leader. Each lesson of control ripples outward into schools, businesses, and nations. The world itself is redeemed by self-mastered men and women who first learned law at home. So hold your head high, and when storms come, smile. You are not merely enduring for yourself. You are building stability for generations. Your calm today will steady your grandchildren tomorrow. Every impulse you conquer is one they will never need to fight. Close your eyes tonight and say, I have ruled myself this day. My home rests in peace because I have given it order. I am the foundation upon which future strength is built. These words are both prayer and prophecy. Live them and you will know that mastery of self is mastery of destiny. For he who conquers himself cannot be conquered by the world. He who governs his mind governs his household. And he who rules his household, ruled by faith and discipline, becomes ruler of his lineage unto generations yet unborn. Part 4. The Law of Faith and Fear. They will borrow your belief or your doubt. Every home, every man, every life is ruled by one of two invisible monarchs, faith or fear. These two cannot share a throne. Where one sits, the other flees. Every decision, every habit, every tone of voice springs from allegiance to one of these powers. And know this truth, your children will bow before the same master you serve. They will inherit your belief or your doubt, your courage or your dread, your faith or your fear. Fear is the oldest tyrant known to man. It enslaves without chains, commands without armies, punishes without whip. It hides behind reason, disguises itself as caution, and whispers its orders in the language of common sense. It tells the father, be careful, when faith would say, be bold. It tells the mother, protect the child from disappointment, when faith would say, prepare him for conquest. Fear robs not only the present, but the future. You may think your fear is private, that you have hidden it well, but your children know it. They feel it in the air of your home as surely as the lungs feel the weather. Fear has a vibration, a heaviness, a gloom, a paralysis. It deadens the voice, slows the hand, and turns possibility into impossibility. A home ruled by fear is like a room without light. Everything is still there, but nothing can be seen clearly. A fearful father cannot teach courage, he can only preach it. His words inspire for a moment, but his trembling eyes contradict his message. A fearful mother cannot raise a confident child. No matter how she praises or prays, the child feels the vibration of anxiety in her embrace and learns that the world is dangerous, that success is uncertain, that life is to be survived rather than mastered. Thus fear multiplies itself through generations. Look to history and see how faith has built empires while fear has buried them. Henry Ford, surrounded by experts who told him his dream was impossible, refused to believe in impossibility. His faith in his idea, in his men, and in himself turned a machine into a movement. His factories did not merely build cars, they built courage. Millions who never met him borrowed his belief and carried it into their own lives. That is the contagious power of faith. Now contrast Ford's faith with the countless men who hesitated. They had more education, more experience, more resources, but less belief. They waited for proof before acting, while he acted and created proof. Their fear disguised itself as prudence, and they perished in its shadow. He believed, and the world bowed. Fear says, "What if I lose?" Faith says, "What if I win?" And life always answers the voice that dares more. Fear spreads faster than disease. It travels from parent to child, from word to glance, from sigh to silence. A father who complains of the cost of living teaches his son to expect shortage. A mother who speaks constantly of danger teaches her daughter to shrink from opportunity. You cannot fear poverty and create wealth. You cannot fear loss and attract abundance. The soil of fear yields only weeds. Faith, on the other hand, multiplies by contact. It needs no explanation, no argument, no defense. The presence of a believer uplifts all who come near. His calmness is contagious, his courage inspiring. Others borrow his certainty as they borrow warmth from a fire. One man of faith in a family can redeem all who live beneath his roof. One woman of faith can rebuild a lineage of doubt. Faith is not blindness, it is vision. It does not ignore reality, it creates it. It sees the invisible order behind visible chaos and acts upon it as fact. It whispers to the doubting mind, life obeys law, and proves it through action. The fearful wait to feel secure before they move. The faithful move, and security follows. Teach your children faith not by sermon, but by demonstration. When worry rises, let them see you still smiling. When misfortune visits, let them hear you speak of opportunity. When failure knocks, let them see you open the door with calm composure. They will learn that fear is a guest unworthy of hospitality. Show them that faith is a working force, not a mere sentiment. Faith builds bridges, erects buildings, forges inventions, and turns ideas into fortunes. When you speak of your plans, speak as one who expects their fulfillment. When you face uncertainty, act as one whose path is already paved. The child who sees faith in motion will grow to believe that the impossible is simply the untried. There is a law of substitution. The mind cannot hold fear and faith at the same time. Each thought drives out the other. Therefore, every time you feel fear, replace it instantly with faith. Speak aloud a new command. I am guided by law. I am protected by purpose. I am sufficient for every demand. Say it until fear flees. A parent who practices this will raise children who instinctively do the same. I have walked through homes heavy with the atmosphere of fear. The parents never speak loudly of it, but it lingers in every sigh, every complaint, every hesitation. The children grow timid, uncertain, hesitant to dream. And I have entered homes humble in means but rich in faith, homes where the father's laughter rings louder than hardship, where the mother's eyes shine even when cupboards are bare. Those children walk into the world with an invisible crown, for they have inherited courage. Your home can be that sanctuary of faith. It can be the place where thought is disciplined, where fear finds no foothold, where optimism is law. Declare this rule aloud and enforce it as you would any household order. In this house we do not fear, we think. We do not drift, we decide. We do not surrender, we persist. Repeat it until your children know it as creed. It will become their shield in the storms of life. The world will try to frighten them. Newspapers will fill their minds with panic. Neighbors will speak of failure. Teachers will warn of limitations. But if they have breathed faith since infancy, If they have seen it living in you, they will face all this as a man faces wind, braced, unshaken, unharmed. They will say within themselves, "My father did not tremble, my mother did not despair, therefore I shall stand." This is how faith perpetuates itself through generations. Do not mistake faith for recklessness. True faith is not ignorance of danger. It is mastery over it. It does not deny obstacles. It denies their right to conquer. It studies facts calmly and then commands them into harmony with purpose. Faith is disciplined confidence, while fear is chaotic surrender. The one builds, the other destroys. If you wish to cure your home of fear, you must first cure your own mind. Begin each day with a declaration of authority. Stand before your mirror and say, "Today I will think only of what I want, not what I dread. I will speak of abundance, not shortage. I will act as though success were certain. Do this for 30 days without fail, and you will feel a shift in your entire being. Then extend that faith to your family. Gather them each evening and speak words of courage, not complaint. Discuss goals, not gossip. Let your dining table be an altar of optimism. Tell stories of men who triumphed through persistence. Edison's 10,000 experiments, Ford's defiance of experts, Lincoln's rise from obscurity. These are not tales of luck, but of law, faith applied to life. You will see change. The anxious tone will fade from voices. The children will laugh more freely. The very walls will seem lighter. For faith, once established, purifies the air like fresh wind through a closed room. The spirit of the home will become magnetic to opportunity, for life itself moves toward confidence and away from fear. Understand this. Fear is not conquered once. It must be defeated daily. It will return in new disguises, whispering fresh lies. But each time you meet it with faith, it weakens. Each victory ingrains courage deeper into your mind and into your children's. Soon faith becomes habit, and habit becomes character. That character becomes destiny. When fear tempts you to speak of failure, stop your tongue. When it tempts you to scold, choose silence. When it tempts you to quit, remember your children's eyes are watching. They will learn from your reaction whether man is master of life or slave to circumstance. Do not teach them slavery. Teach them dominion. Affirm these truths until they are carved into your consciousness. In this home, faith reigns. Fear is stranger here. We act from belief, not from doubt. We stand by purpose, not by panic. We trust the law of success and obey it without hesitation. Each morning, write one thing you are grateful for. Gratitude is the natural expression of faith. Each evening, speak one word of encouragement to your family. Encourage them not only for what they have done, but for what they can yet do. The home ruled by gratitude and expectation becomes a fortress against despair. Let me assure you, the greatest gift you can give your children is belief. Not money, not property, not protection, but the conviction that they can face life unafraid. Teach them that faith is not hope, it is certainty. It is the calm confidence that life yields to those who act in harmony with law. If they learn this, they will walk the earth as kings, even if they wear humble clothes. So today, bury fear as you would a corpse. Do not speak of it again. Let faith take its throne in your heart and your home. Speak as though all good things are already on their way, because they are. Act as though success were your birthright, because it is. Think as though every challenge were your servant, because it will be. And as you do, your children will imitate not your speech, but your spirit. They will inherit faith as naturally as they inherit your name. And years from now, when you are gone, they will say to their own children, "Do not be afraid. Your grandfather was not. Your grandmother was not." We are of a house that believes that will be your monument, your immortality, your triumph over time. For the home built on faith does not perish. It multiplies across generations, a living chain of courage that no darkness can break. Part 5, the law of work and example. Teach by labor, not by lecture. There is no sermon as powerful as a man at work. A child may forget 1,000 words, but he never forgets the sight of his parent laboring with purpose. Work is the visible proof of faith, the living demonstration that thought has turned to power. Every stroke of your hand, every task performed with cheer, every problem solved with patience teaches more than any command could ever teach. The idle parent destroys faith by contradiction. He speaks of ambition but moves not an inch toward it. He complains of poverty but refuses to act. His children hear his words, but they watch his laziness, and they learn that talk is smoke. The diligent parent, though he preaches nothing, is the truest instructor. His silence speaks. Effort is dignity, and labor is honor. Understand this law. Enthusiasm for work cannot be inherited by lecture. It must be caught by example. The child who sees his father rise early, his mother maintain order, and both meet the day without complaint grows to believe that effort is normal and reward is natural. He learns that the world yields only to those who meet it with prepared hands. Andrew Carnegie began as a telegraph boy, running errands for a few coins. But he watched his mother labor without despair, patching clothes by candlelight, saving every penny with pride instead of shame. That picture engraved itself upon his soul. He said later that his fortune was born not in steel, but in her perseverance. Her work taught him that poverty is a condition, not a destiny. Now think of those who inherited ease without discipline. They were given wealth, but denied the habit that creates it. Their names vanished in a single generation, for luxury without labor dissolves into dust. One generation of strength creates, one of indulgence consumes, one of idleness destroys. If you would preserve your line, teach by work, not by indulgence. Children learn more from how you handle small tasks than from how you discuss great dreams. When they see you fix what breaks instead of complaining, they learn responsibility. When they see you serve others cheerfully, they learn humility. When they see you complete what you begin, they learn persistence. You are shaping their philosophy by every action of your hands. The average man believes his words educate his children. They do not. The child's mind measures integrity by consistency, not conversation. If you promise to do something and fail, he learns unreliability. If you begin a task and abandon it, he learns weakness. But if you persist until completion, even in small matters, he learns that victory belongs to endurance. Work is a sacred form of discipline. It strengthens the muscles of faith as surely as labor strengthens the arms. Every man who learns to work with purpose has placed himself in harmony with divine law. Nature pays wages to the worker that money cannot measure: peace of mind, self-respect, and growing power. The child who witnesses that truth will never despise effort. The drifter labors only under compulsion. The master labors by choice. The drifter asks, "Must I?" The master declares, "I will." Teach your children the difference by how you rise from bed each day. If they see reluctance on your face, they will inherit it. If they see eagerness, they will imitate it. Children borrow the parent's attitude toward duty. Every task, no matter how humble, becomes noble when performed with excellence. If you sweep a floor, sweep it as though destiny depended on it. If you build, build with the precision of a craftsman who expects eternity to inspect his work. The standard you set for yourself becomes the invisible standard of your children. Half effort in the parent breeds mediocrity in the child. Work is not merely the earning of bread, it is the training ground of the soul. The man who works with care sharpens accuracy. The man who works with vision enlarges imagination. The man who works with joy multiplies power. When you infuse work with faith, you teach that every act can be sacred. The spirit in which you labor sanctifies or spoils the lesson. Teach your children the law of compensation. Nature pays double to the man who renders more service than he is paid for. The drifter bargains with life, offering the minimum for the smallest wage. The achiever gives more than is required and receives more than he expected. When your children see you doing more than your share, staying late, helping others, striving for excellence, they will learn that the road to abundance is paved with extra effort. Show them that prosperity is not magic, it is arithmetic. He who multiplies service multiplies reward. Let them watch you anticipate needs, perfect your craft, speak with enthusiasm, and they will internalize the formula. They will understand that success is not inherited but created daily by willing hands and a definite purpose. Carnegie once said, "I never knew a man who did more than he was paid for, who didn't soon get more than he did." That principle raised him from poverty to wealth. It will raise any man. The parent who teaches this law by living it gives his children a guarantee of fortune stronger than any insurance. The child must see that you love your work, not merely endure it. The one who works with bitterness teaches that labor is punishment. The one who works with faith teaches that labor is privilege. The energy with which you perform your tasks becomes the energy of your home. Work with resentment, and the air grows heavy. Work with joy, and your family breathes courage. Include them in your labors when you can. Let them help, even if their hands slow you. The purpose is not efficiency, it is education. Let them feel the satisfaction of completion, the reward of contributing. Speak proudly of effort, not of ease. Praise persistence, not perfection. The habit of work is built not through lecture, but through participation. When discouragement comes, and it will, speak of endurance. Say, "Work never fails a faithful man." When fatigue whispers of rest, say, "We will finish this before we stop." Let them see that work is not a burden, but a privilege reserved for those who live with purpose. By this lesson, you are saving them decades of frustration. You are arming them against the poison of laziness that ruins so many lives. Work trains the character for all other victories. The man who can discipline his hands can discipline his mind. The woman who can finish her duties without complaint can finish her destiny without fear. Work is the testing ground of faith, the place where vision meets application. Teach your children to love this process, and you will have given them the key to every door. Let this affirmation govern your life. I teach by example. My labor is my leadership. Through my work, I show what life rewards. Write it where you can see it. Read it each morning before you begin your day. It will remind you that your efforts are sermons written in action. Be not ashamed of honest toil. The world respects the worker, not the talker. Henry Ford was once a mechanic covered in grease. Rockefeller was a bookkeeper. Edison burned his hands with chemicals. Their greatness grew from devotion to their craft. Their hands built what their minds conceived. They taught the world the same truth you must teach your children, that work dignified by purpose is divine. When you work beyond what is required, you send a silent message to the infinite intelligence that governs all law. I am ready for more. The response of life is unfailing. Greater opportunities will find you. Your children will witness this truth and never doubt it again. They will learn that success is predictable, for it follows law as surely as dawn follows night. Do not think you must lecture them about hard times. Show them resilience instead. When you face difficulty, let them see determination, not despair. When plans fail, let them see you rebuild without bitterness. That vision will become the blueprint for their courage. They will remember not your words, but your bearing in adversity. The lazy man leaves behind no inheritance but excuses. The industrious man leaves a legacy of motion that continues even after he rests. Your children will inherit either the rhythm of progress or the stagnation of apathy. You decide daily which they shall receive. If they see you working for a higher purpose, serving others, improving your community, striving for excellence, they will learn that work is not merely personal gain, but contribution. Teach them that man's duty is not only to provide, but to improve, to lift others as he climbs. Then their labor will become love, and love will become wealth. Each evening, reflect on your day and ask, if my children lived exactly as I work today, would they prosper or perish? The answer will guide you to correction. Every day offers a chance to demonstrate greater excellence. Your example today becomes their inheritance tomorrow. Remember that wealth without work destroys character, but work with faith builds it. Do not wish for ease, wish for mastery. Do not teach your children to avoid toil. Teach them to transform it into triumph. The man who finds joy in his duty is free from bondage. The child who learns that lesson is immune to mediocrity. When your children grow and you are gone, they will not remember your speeches about success. They will remember the sound of your footsteps leaving early to labor. They will remember the calm with which you faced responsibility. They will remember that you did not shrink from effort, but met it with gratitude. That memory will become their discipline in years to come. So rise tomorrow with renewed spirit. Greet your work as your ally, not your enemy. Let your children see that diligence is dignity, that perseverance is peace, and that service is strength. For every blow of the hammer, every stroke of the pen, every honest effort is a lesson in the language they understand best. Example, close with this eternal truth. No man who works with faith ever dies in vain. His influence remains in every life he touched, every mind he awakened, every child he inspired to labor nobly. Work done in the spirit of purpose becomes eternal. Through it, you build not only fortune, but immortality. Part 6, the law of legacy, building an empire that outlives you. There comes a time in every man's life when he must decide whether his existence shall end with his breath or extend beyond his grave. The measure of a life is not how long it lasts, but how far its influence reaches. Wealth dies when it is hoarded. Fame fades when it is self-centered. But character, discipline, and faith, these are immortal. They march forward through generations. This is the law of legacy. What you are will live longer than what you own. Every decision you make today adds a stone to the monument of your name. Each thought, each word, each action contributes to the invisible structure you are building. Long after your voice is silenced, that structure will stand, either as a beacon that guides or a ruin that warns. You cannot escape this law. You are always building, consciously or not, a pattern for those who will follow. The only question is whether it will be one worth inheriting. Consider George Washington. He left no dynasty of wealth, yet his moral courage, patience, and faith became the inheritance of an entire nation. His example of restraint in power gave birth to a republic that still endures. He built not a palace, but a principle. And that principle has governed millions more effectively than any law written by hand. That is legacy, the immortality of a disciplined soul. Now contrast him with men who sought only personal glory. Their names shone bright for a day, then vanished like sparks in the wind. They chased pleasure, they amassed gold, but they left behind nothing that could uplift another life. The true tragedy of such men is not that they died, but that their death made no difference. Their lives were echoes that faded instead of voices that endured. You must choose which of these two you will be. Will you live for comfort or for contribution? Will your days be a private pursuit of gain or a public example of greatness? The world is filled with men who labored all their years and left nothing of substance behind. Not a principle, not a method, not a memory worth repeating. Do not join their number. Live in such a way that when your name is spoken, it strengthens those who hear it. Every man leaves two legacies, one written in his will, the other written in his conduct. The first may be divided, taxed, or spent. The second endures untouched. The first benefits a few, the second uplifts many. And while fortune may be taken by chance, character is forged only by choice. Therefore, spend your energy not on hoarding wealth, but on building the kind of soul that multiplies it. Your legacy begins with a definite chief aim. What do you wish to leave to the world? A business that enriches lives? a family united by faith, a community strengthened by your leadership? Fix this aim in your mind as clearly as the sculptor fixes his design before striking marble. Then live every day as a stroke toward that form. Each decision that aligns with it adds substance. Each act that betrays it chips away at your monument. Andrew Carnegie understood this law. He built steel mills, but his real creation was opportunity. His libraries, his schools, his foundations, these were extensions of his belief that education and self-discipline could lift any man from poverty. His fortune has long been divided, but his principle still builds men. That is the difference between a fortune and a legacy. Legacy does not require fame. It requires faithfulness. A mother who instills courage in her children leaves a monument more enduring than granite. A father who teaches discipline engraves his likeness upon the souls of his descendants. The smallest home governed by principle casts a longer shadow than the tallest tower built without it. There are men who die rich and are forgotten, and there are men who die poor and live forever. The difference lies not in their possessions, but in their principles. If you live for accumulation, you will be remembered for what you took. If you live for service, you will be remembered for what you gave. What you give in moral power multiplies long after material gifts are spent. The law is impartial. Every act reproduces itself. Teach integrity, and it will reappear in your descendants' lives. Teach fear, and they will suffer it for decades. The inheritance of spirit is more real than the inheritance of coin. The blood of generations carries more than physical traits. It carries the spiritual tone of the line. You are deciding today whether your family shall inherit greatness or decay. Let your daily life reflect the legacy you wish to build. If you desire to leave courage, live courageously. If you desire to leave faith, face adversity with calm. If you desire to leave honor, speak truth even when it costs you. Each of these virtues becomes a seed planted in the soil of time. You may never see its bloom, but it will rise. Think of Lincoln. He began with no inheritance but poverty and pain. Yet he left the legacy of perseverance and conscience. His words still awaken courage. His name still commands reverence. His fortune was not measured in gold, but in the moral energy he released into the world. That energy still works wherever men fight for freedom and justice. There is no greater tragedy than to waste a lifetime on self. A man who hoards his skills, his wisdom, his compassion, dies smaller than when he was born. He takes from the world and returns nothing. But the man who sees himself as a steward of the future, who lives each day conscious that his actions ripple beyond his reach, becomes immortal in influence. The world may forget his name, but it cannot forget his effect. If you would build an enduring legacy, live by 3 rules. First, make your purpose definite. A vague life leaves a vague mark. Decide what you want to contribute and pursue it with faith and precision. Second, practice your purpose daily. Greatness is not an act, but a habit. Each repetition deepens the groove through which your influence will flow. Third, connect your purpose to service. The man who serves himself dies alone. The man who serves others lives in all he touches. You may say, I am ordinary. What legacy can I leave? I answer, no life is ordinary when lived with definiteness. A teacher who inspires belief in one child may have changed the course of a nation. A craftsman who perfects his skill lifts the standard of all who follow. A mother who teaches honesty to her son may have raised the statesman who saves a people. The scale of your influence is not yours to judge. Your duty is to live by law, and law will multiply your reach. Ask yourself tonight, what will my descendants remember of me? Will they say, he complained, he doubted, he left nothing but bills? Or will they say, he stood tall, he labored, he believed, and because of him, we believe? That question should govern every hour. For when the final day comes, it will not be your earnings that speak, but your example. The disciplined man multiplies his influence naturally. His strength becomes the backbone of his family. His faith becomes their protection. His integrity becomes their reputation. He extends his life through theirs. A selfish man ends with his last breath. A self-mastered man continues through the generations he has uplifted. This is the divine arithmetic of legacy. One soul redeemed redeems many. I have seen homes where this law flourished. In such families, you feel purpose in the air. The grandfather's courage lives in the father's calm. The father's calm lives in the son's discipline, and the son's discipline lives in the granddaughter's dreams. They have built an empire of mind, unshaken by recession, unbroken by misfortune. No inheritance of gold could equal that wealth. Now consider the opposite. Families that once prospered fall into ruin because one generation lost discipline. The first labored, the second enjoyed, the third neglected. Their wealth became poison, their name a mockery. Each generation inherits the pattern of the one before. The father who indulges himself teaches his son to decay, and the son teaches his son to perish. Break that chain. Be the generation that restores the law. Here is your method. Step 1. Define your chief aim, not for this year, but for your lineage. What kind of spirit shall bear your name a century hence? Step 2. Live that aim now. Every decision either builds or destroys that future. Step 3. Teach it by repetition. Tell your children why you rise early, why you persist, why you keep faith. They will remember. Step 4, record your principles. Leave behind not only property but instruction, a map of thought they can follow when you are gone. Affirm this each morning: I live to leave strength, not weakness. I build not for my comfort but for my children's courage. Let these words direct your choices. When temptation calls, remember your descendants are watching through time. Live worthy of their respect, and you will never act small again. If you build rightly, your name will become a fortress. When your descendants face fear, they will whisper it and draw strength. When they doubt, they will remember your deeds and stand firm. You will have become in truth a guardian spirit of your lineage, not through superstition but through law. The vibration of your thought will continue to shape their destiny long after your dust has scattered. And know this: one disciplined generation can redeem 10 that went astray. One man who decides to live by law can halt centuries of weakness. You may be that man. You may be the turning point of your family's history, the moment when mediocrity ends and greatness begins. Live so that your grandchildren will bless your name when they kneel in prayer. Legacy is not built in comfort. It is forged in choice, in sacrifice, in obedience to principle when pleasure beckons otherwise. Every hardship you overcome becomes an inheritance of courage. Every temptation resisted becomes an inheritance of moral wealth. The world may not applaud you, but your children's children will feel the strength of your decision in their own blood. When your final day arrives and your family gathers to speak your name, let them say not merely that you lived, but that you built. Let them say, He gave us faith when fear ruled the world. He taught us order when chaos surrounded us. He left us not riches, but a way of thinking that creates riches. Then you will know that your life was not a spark, but a torch. This is the law of legacy, that one generation living by law can lift 100. The man who masters himself, serves others, and builds with definiteness leaves behind an empire that outlives him. Wealth will fade, fame will be forgotten, but law is eternal. Obey it, and you will become part of eternity. Part 7, the law of rebirth. Rise now, and the future rises with you. There comes a moment in every life when the past must die and the man must be born anew. You have carried your failures long enough. You have whispered excuses long enough. The ghosts of indecision, fear, and regret have followed you as uninvited guests, eating the bread of your peace. Now they must be banished. For as long as they remain, your children will live in their shadow. You cannot pass on what you have not overcome. To save their future, you must resurrect yourself. You stand at the crossroads of generations. Behind you lie all who came before, some strong, some weak, some noble, some defeated. Ahead of you stand those who are yet to be born, waiting to inherit whatever you leave. You are the bridge between them. Through your thoughts, your habits, your decisions, you are writing the history of your bloodline. The moment you rise, your lineage begins to rise with you. It matters not what mistakes you have made, nor how many years have been wasted. The law does not condemn the past, it transforms it. The instant you decide to live by principle, everything that came before becomes fuel for your rebirth. Nature does not punish change, she honors it. One decision, made with burning definiteness, can redeem decades of drift. You are not bound by what has been unless you choose to be. The average man buries himself alive under memories. He speaks of his failures as though they were his identity, and he tells his children the same defeated story. It cannot be done, he says. And with those words, he buries their belief beside his own. But the wise man understands that history is not a chain. It is clay. It can be reshaped. The moment he decides, he begins again, not from the past, but from power. Do you not see? The law of rebirth operates instantly. The mind, once fixed upon a new aim, begins to reorganize all thought and circumstance toward it. When a man declares, "I begin anew," the universe responds as though he had always been that new man. The old conditions fade, new opportunities appear, allies emerge as if summoned by unseen command. This is not miracle, it is law. The creative power of thought knows no backward motion. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Before greatness crowned him, he was defeated in business, rejected by voters, ridiculed by peers. Yet he did not allow yesterday's losses to define tomorrow's purpose. He began again and again, each time stronger, calmer, clearer. His rebirths were many, but his decision was one: I will rise until my purpose is fulfilled. That is why his name endures when others, richer in opportunity but poorer in will, vanished from history. Rockefeller, too, faced chaos before empire. In the early years, failure stalked his ventures, panic shook the markets, enemies mocked his ambition. Yet through every collapse, he saw order. He rebuilt not from frustration, but from faith. He understood that loss was a teacher, not a tomb. Each new beginning refined his method until his method became law. His life proved that a man reborn through discipline is indestructible. You may say, but I have wasted years. I have set a poor example. Then understand this: one season of obedience to law can erase 10 years of drift. One act of mastery can redeem a decade of weakness. A man who reforms himself reforms his lineage. The moment he stands, those who follow will feel the ground steady beneath them. His family will sense the shift. His children will see the change. Even his past will bow to his new authority. The law does not measure time as men do. It measures transformation. One instant of complete decision outweighs a lifetime of hesitation. When you rise, you awaken the sleeping forces of infinite intelligence that have waited within you since birth. They respond like soldiers to a long, silent trumpet. Energy floods the mind. Courage fills the heart. Clarity illuminates the path. This is the resurrection of will, the rebirth of purpose. The weak believe that new beginnings belong to youth. They are mistaken. Rebirth belongs to any soul that decides to be young in faith. Time has no power over conviction. There is no old age in spirit. The moment you decide to rise, the past falls away as easily as a shadow at noon. The laws of success do not ask your age. They ask your obedience. This is not a gentle process. To be reborn, the old self must die, the self of fear, of delay, of self-pity. You must burn it upon the altar of decision. That is why few men rise. They cling to their weakness as if it were identity. They say, I am this way. But the truth is, you are what you decide to be. The past self is a costume. Strip it off and stand naked before life in faith. Only then will new garments be woven around you. You ask, how do I begin? Begin with one definite thought. Write it, speak it, live it. Let it burn in your mind until every other thought bows to it. Say, I am no longer the man of yesterday. I am reborn in purpose, reborn in discipline, reborn in faith. Say it morning and night until it becomes identity. Then act each day as the new man would act. The law will not fail you. Within 90 days of living as this new self, the air of your home will change. The tone of your speech will alter. The people around you will sense a new vibration. Your children will feel peace where confusion once reigned. They will begin to believe in the possibility of transformation because they have seen it in you. Thus, your personal rebirth becomes the beginning of their future. Do not wait for permission. No man can grant you new life but yourself. Do not seek applause. The world will not believe in your change until your results prove it. Work in silence until faith becomes visible. Let your actions speak first. Let your discipline, your calm, your consistency announce to all who watch, the old has passed, the new has come. The moment you rise, your enemies lose power. They are prepared to fight the man you were, not the one you have become. Even your memories lose grip, for the new self carries no guilt. You do not need to apologize for your past. You need only outgrow it. The tree does not apologize for being seed. It fulfills the law by blooming. Remember, redemption is not granted. It is earned by alignment with law. The law of success has no grudge against those who have failed. It waits patiently for obedience. The instant you obey, it begins to pay. You may have walked against it for years, but one turn in the right direction restores harmony. Life does not hold resentment. It holds opportunity for those who will claim it. You will be tempted to doubt. Old fears will whisper, you cannot change. Silence them with truth. I already have. Speak it until your subconscious accepts it as fact. The mind builds reality from belief. When belief changes, life follows like a river obeying a new channel. The man who insists upon his transformation forces the world to rearrange itself around him. Do not underestimate how quickly change can occur. In one day, a man can decide to stop drinking, to control his temper, to save instead of spend, to rise instead of drift. In one day, a man can move from weakness to power. The habit of decades may resist, but it cannot outlast while sustained by faith. The secret is persistence. Hold the new image in mind until habit yields. Each morning declare aloud, I rise for myself and for those who will come after me. My discipline redeems generations. The blood of my children will remember that I conquered. This is no mere poetry. It is command. The mind obeys repetition, and repetition becomes reality. Speak these words daily until they are carved into the walls of your subconscious. When discouragement comes, and it will, remember that the process of rebirth often feels like breaking. The old shell must crack before the new life can emerge. Do not mistake discomfort for failure. Pain is the fire that forges identity. Stand in it and say, this is my purification. The soul that endures the flame becomes indestructible. You are not merely transforming yourself. You are altering the direction of time. Each act of discipline you perform today removes a burden from those who will follow. Each fear you destroy today prevents it from being born in your descendants. When you master yourself, the line behind you breathes easier. You are rewriting the inheritance of centuries. Imagine 10 years hence. You are older, yes, but younger in spirit. Your children are strong, confident, certain. They walk as though guided by unseen strength. That strength is yours. They have inherited it because you rose. You changed the vibration of your name from defeat to victory. You have given them a new starting point, one that begins where you refuse to end. This is the power of rebirth. It saves decades of struggle, centuries of decay. The moment you rise, life begins to conspire in your favor. People will appear who share your vision. Opportunities will multiply. Circumstances will shift. Even adversities will bend themselves into allies. The new man attracts new conditions as magnet attracts metal. Nothing resists him long, for he is aligned with law. Now close your eyes and see yourself as you will be when the transformation is complete. You stand upright, calm, decisive. Fear no longer whispers. Doubt no longer chains. You look into the eyes of your children, and they see not the man who once faltered, but the leader who conquered. You are proof that change is real, that law is eternal, that destiny can be rewritten by choice. So rise now. Rise for yourself, but more importantly, rise for those who will bear your name. Rise for your sons who will mirror your strength, and for your daughters who will inherit your calm. Rise because every second of hesitation is another burden placed upon their shoulders. Rise and act as though success were already yours, for when you act with that conviction, it soon will be. When the final account of your life is written, let it be said that you were the generation that turned the tide, that you stopped the drift, destroyed the fear, rebuilt the faith, and set the future free. Let your children and their children look back and say, our strength began with him. That will be your victory, your redemption, your immortality. For this is the truth. When one man rises, many rise. When one mind awakens, countless others awaken through it. You are not a single soul struggling alone. You are a link in the great chain of progress. Strengthen that link now, and all that comes after, you will be stronger because you lived. So act today as though tomorrow has already blessed you. Live today as though generations depend upon it, because they do. For when you rise, the future rises with you.